Hey up lads and lasses, Damphyre here, back again with some more Infinite Lagrange. Today carrying on again with some cruiser guides for you. We did the cast last time, it was the most requested. I think the second most requested after that was the IO. And then you got like KCCPV and Predators to finish off these, and then onto fighters, corvettes and all that good stuff. I have to work out the battle cruisers at some point and the carriers, because I don't own, well, I do own all of them, but I don't have all the modules, so a little bit different there. So we'll jump into the IO though. It's one of my favorite ships in the game. I run this almost every season. Specifically the B, the anti-ship type, which is the anti-frig, anti-destroyer. The reason I run that is because Swarm is still quite prevalent, and Swarm consists usually of a off-tank front row of Eris's or Tauruses. Sometimes you still see Callisto, not Callisto, the other thing, Carillion in there. And so yeah, and the B type just has a fantastic way of being able to just decimate that kind of frig destroyer front row. Like no issue whatsoever, so it just fits in perfectly for there. The iron cannon type, a little bit more just standard. You can see at the moment sat at 19,000 base. When you crank this up, you're sat at around 2,600 damage. It has a hit rate issue, and it's not good having hit rate issues on these kind of ion cannon systems, which do sort of damage frequency, because as soon as they miss one of the damage frequencies, like the one slot of it, they miss all the rest. So out of those 4 damage frequencies, you hit the first one, great. You miss the second, it means you're going to miss the third and the fourth, which is really bad. You just lost 75% of your damage. So having to buff the hit rate on these is a requirement. Which in itself becomes a slight issue, because it does mean that you are now in a position where it's like, okay, I need to run Ceres Tactical, or you need to run Predator Tactical, or, you know, ST-59 with the UAVs, which is what I personally currently run in my heavy fleet, is ST-59. But it is absolutely doable, and they are fantastic when set up in the right fleet, where you have that UAV spotter support, and these are getting buffed because they can dish out some serious damage output. And yeah, they're just good. All 3 variants have a use. C type's very situational. A and B type a little less situational though. So let's jump into the A type, and again, I'm going to apologise quickly now. Still got cladding works going on in where I live, so if there's any drilling or something in the background, there's basically nothing I can really do about it, unfortunately. So, ion cannon type, it is a front row little beast of a cruiser. So first off, absolutely going straight into its HP. Grab the double ship HP modules here. You can argue grabbing the short range stealth coating now is okay. It depends how many points you've got, really. Personally, I wouldn't. I'd wait. Going to the additional propulsion system, where you're going to get a 15% increased evasion base. You get a 5% increased hit rate, which is quite nice because, like I said, it's got hit rate issues. And then picking up both of the ship evasions will increase the life of your IOs significantly. Bear in mind, though, these are not healthy cruisers. They have got, you know, the standard 50, 10% energy shield and armor, but at 62,000 HP, sorry, they are on a little bit a lower side of the HP. So picking up the double HP mod first does actually help it out a little bit more than grabbing the evasion. After that, it's kind of up to you. I personally don't pick up the energy resistance here, and I probably regret it sometimes. Other times it works out great. I like to pick up the physical resistances, and then I pick up the short-range stealth coating. The reason for the short-range stealth coating is when you move to that mid-row when it's low HP, being a front-row ship, you have that natural ability to move back to the mid-row when damaged. This short-range coating can literally just quite save its life from getting killed off by Callisto or something of that nature, while it's potentially being healed up. And if you can get them like fully healed and back onto the front row, the short range coating, in my opinion, then has done its job. Whereas you could argue, you know, going double energy resistance, bring you up to 30% energy resistance. It's also pretty good. Energy damage there is a lot of it in the game. The highest damage dealing fleets are a mix of energy and physical low. So your probably best bet is to go a physical energy res. But again, my personal preference is a physical energy res with the short range stealth coating, just increasing that dodge chance a little bit further after bringing the evasion in off the additional props. After that, going into the Viggen ion cannon here, and you're going to want to pick up overdrive at some point. You don't necessarily need to pick it up straight away, but my recommendation is absolutely picking up both of the hit rates on this. You are unfortunately only got 6 slots to play around with here, so it's a little bit tight getting like everything you want, because you want cooldown, you want damage, because the damage is decent at 600 damage per hit, so that's 600 on a 4 times damage frequency. It's a lot of damage potential, like it's pretty decent. Unfortunately, you don't really have that option because you do need double hit rate, you do want the double cooldown, and you want to pick up the overdrive system. That's 5 of your 6 slots, leaving you only 1 to pick up the ion cannon damage, and the other 2, the armor depot armor enhancement and the armor anti-blast enhancement, are just worthless in most situations, including this one, so I'd completely ignore those. So yeah, double hit rate first. You can then argue it going into the overdrive system. I personally go into double cooldown after the double hit rate, picking up the overdrive a little bit later, and then going into the ion, one of the damage buffs here. Something that is quite nice is recently you have got a bonus now where we can get an extra 15% hit rate against cruisers and higher class ships. This does give it the accuracy without tactical UAVs to support it at hitting those cruisers and above, but you will struggle a lot still with frigates and destroyers. So bear that in mind. If you are against super heavy fleets, you don't need to run the tactical, if you can pick up the system adjustment for the ion cannon system on the A-type. After that, going into the generic missile launcher system, it's actually quite good. It's decent DPM again. You get 3000 DPM just from this little tiny missile system, which is quite nice. It's also your best way of dealing with those frigates destroyers. So absolutely pick up both of the frigate destroyer hit rates here. You have 4 slots to play with, so you got a bit of room. The damage is only 100, so giving 10% damage isn't particularly great, but giving it a decent cooldown gives you quite a bit more damage output. So you end up going double hit rate, cooldown, damage on the missile system. After that, it really doesn't matter too much. There is an integrated battery system. These are anti-aircraft. The R counterattacks are a bit pants and don't really do much. Go fighters hit rate, go double cooldown and lock on efficiency, and then you pick up one of the damages at the end as well. And yeah, you won't see any real AA from this thing as per usual with anything with cannons really, or anything that's counterattack. They're just not very good at doing anything. Prop system. 1 warp speed, 1 cruising speed is what I go for. It's actually quite a fast ship at base at 650 cruising speed and a 3250 warp speed, so it's not too bad anyway. That it's only got 2 slots here, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. It's going to be probably one of your faster cruisers regardless. Anyway, moving on to the B-type. The B-type is very much a dedicated anti-small cruiser. I think it's the only dedicated anti-small cruiser that comes to mind. Its main ion cannon Viggen system, the Viggen ion cannon system on this one's like a rapid fire thing. And yeah, it just shoots tons and tons and tons. It's kind of crazy. Kind of like a cruiser version of a HC Eris, pretty much, more or less. Same thing as the A version though. You want to go into armor system, double HP buff here. Moving over onto the additional prop system and getting the double evasion, going back onto the armor system. And your choice here, again, I'm going to be picking up short range stealth coating and the physical resistances, but you can go double energy or it's single energy and physical resistances, depending on what you're facing. After that, going into the Vegan iron cannon system, and this is where this thing becomes absolutely devastating. Sink all weapons in the system to prioritize attacks against frigates and destroyers. This used to be frigates only and they changed it. Now it's frigs and destroyers. Activates a maneuvering mode and increases hit rate by 40%, evasion by 20% every 30 seconds for 15 seconds. And you can increase the evasion by a further 10%. So you're now sat at a base 15% evasion plus an additional 16%, and off that strategy, you're going to get yourself an extra 30%, bringing you up to a quite tasty 31 or 32%. 62% evasion. If I could do math correctly at this time in the morning, it would probably help when doing these videos. So, 62% evasion when attacking frigates and destroyers is really nice. You've got a 40% increased hit rate. You're going to further increase that with double hit rate. Absolutely strat first on this one, in my opinion, and then double hit rate. The strat is just so goddamn powerful, especially if you can get these outs like that mid-game where people are still running frig, destroyer, fleet, and you get like 2 of these out early, because you know you can rush things a little bit if you use the special shipyard. Yeah, it's kind of funny when you just watch 2 of these just shred through an entire fleet. But yeah, it will need the strat and at minimum the double hit rate bonuses, and then at that point it's really strong at dealing with frigs and destroyer. So you got 3 slots taken up pretty much to hit rate and a strat again, so you've only got 3 slots left. Double cooldown here is an option, but if we actually have a look, your cooldown's 1 second at base with a 2-time damage frequency, 4-second duration, and a 3-second lock-on time. You are actually oddly better, and I tested this a few times, ignoring the cooldown, going double damage. So you end up with 1 cooldown and double damage, and it's loads of cooldown. The thing fires fast enough. There is an option to go double cooldown, and it does work. It's what I used to run, but I found double damage gives you the ability to punch above its weight a little bit better. If you go double cooldown, you get damage mitigation from like 20% on battle cruisers and stuff of energy damage. So picking up the double damage actually increases the damage output than the cooldown does, just a touch. So it just makes it a little bit better against cruiser and higher class ships, where this thing does struggle a bit against cruiser and higher class ships. Not that it can't hit them, it's just got quite a low damage output. If we see here, we're at 16,000 damage at base, whereas the iron cannon type, the A type, is only is like 19,000 basically. So yeah, do bear that in mind. It will struggle a little bit more with anything cruiser and above. They just have quite a bit of damage mitigation. This thing doesn't pack much of a punch. It just punches a lot of times. Also to note, even with the strategy and double hit rate, it still has a bit of an issue hitting some of the off tanks that are very dodge reliant. HC Eris, Carillion come to mind. So in that situation, it is sometimes worthwhile running a couple of extra tactical series in here, or Predator tacticals in your fleet, just to give it a little bit extra hit rate. It will thank you for it, but I don't find it necessary all the time to be doing that. However, I do run ST-59 with hit rate UAVs on them, and I run these to counter small because my ST-59s are set up to counter large. And that gives me a nice sort of base area to play around with. After the Vigor Iron Cannon system, going into the missile system. Again, I'm going to recommend double hit rate here. Again, it's another one of your systems that's very good against just hitting enemies, especially frigates and destroyers. You got to increase DPM over the base variant on the missile system here as well, which is quite nice. So double hit rate here. Cooldown is actually quite good on here, and then you pick up one of the damages. The hit rate against cruisers and higher class ships, you can just flat out ignore. It's not particularly useful on this. The missiles are good enough to hit anyway, so just specialize them into countering those frig destroyers is, in my opinion, a better situation. Because, again, this thing's not very good against cruisers and above. However, it's amazing against frigates, destroyers. So you do have to run that situation where it's like, well, what's my fleet build like? Do I need more frigate destroyer? If yes, add some IO high speeds. If no, don't. Pretty much run a version instead. After that, go into your integrated barrier system. This is identical to the first one. It is, unfortunately, counter-attack only. So you're picking up hit rate, double cooldown damage, or hit rate, double cooldown, lock on. And then a damage at the end, or yeah. That's probably what you're going for anyway. And then, yeah, don't expect it to really do anything. I mean, I've even unlocked... this is one of the ships where I was testing if you could, like, get the increased hit rate was enough for when it is doing the counter-attack to get any extra damage out. It really didn't make any difference whatsoever, so don't do that. It's a waste of points. Something to note is this has a really nice command system in your fleets. If your fleet's point value is greater than that of your opponent before entering a combat engagement, then the enemy fleet cannot retreat within the first 30 seconds of engagement. And yeah, this goes up to 45 seconds max, just to show it off quickly there. You can pin an enemy down for 45 seconds, and most of the time, it doesn't really matter. Most people will take a fight for 45 seconds. But when you hit the right fleet, if you hit a Frig Desi fleet that's meant to be a flanking fleet or something of that nature, and these are in it, that is just 45 seconds. They do not want to be in that battle with no tank, no capacity to heal or anything like that. And it's a Frig Desi fleet, and these things are just going to chew it apart, and they're locked in place for 45 seconds. It is utterly glorious, and you'll enjoy the battle reports a lot. It's very situational, I will admit, but when you're in combat with another union, you get to know who goes on the front line for their union quite often. Their fleets don't change very often. They do tend to like run the same thing over and over again. So as soon as you see the fleet and the fleet names and stuff like that, you just remember and you go, oh, that guy over there, I know his flanking fleet is just full of frigs and destroyers. I'm going to throw my anti-ship IOs at it and watch him suffer for 45 seconds before he runs away. So, very, very powerful strategy if used correctly. Very situational, however, but it does add to the B-type's just ability to screw over, quite literally, anything smaller than a destroyer, and just in rapid time as well. Same as the A-type, I go warp speed, cruising speed. You can go double cruising speed. This thing is, again, rather fast. For a cruiser, anyway. Probably my favorite ship in the game in terms of what it does. It's just a very, very dedicated anti-frig destroyer ship, and I just love it for that because we don't really have anything that's as quite as dedicated as this to dealing with one problem. Except the siege type. It's another one that is very much dedicated to doing one thing. Unfortunately, the one thing is siege damage. It literally does next to nothing. I have previously just run 8 of these in their own fleet by themselves. They are fast enough to move around, fast enough to hit outposts, and deal significantly large amounts of damage to kill outposts faster than most people can react. If you get somebody and they're, say, maybe offline at that time, and you run this into their advanced mining platform, which I've done on numerous occasions. Yeah, they genuinely won't get to combat with you before you've taken that amp out. These will just absolutely wreck and shred through anything building related. It's fantastic for that. I've used them to sort of cheese myself into the top 3 on city sieges by waiting for all the fleets to get killed and then throwing in 8 of these at the end onto the base just to make stupid damage numbers happen. It's funny because, you know, there's a bit of competition always within the same corp, isn't there, for that kind of thing, I think. So yeah, it's just a good ship, but again, it's extremely situational, this one. It is for siege only. With that being said, going into its armor system, going double system HP here, physical resistance is an absolute necessity on this one because you are going into buildings, they don't deal energy damage, you don't really have to care about it. Do not fling this into enemy fleets. It will just die and do nothing. They're like as useful as a wet paper towel against enemy fleets. There is an argument for short-range stealth coating, and that's because some of the missiles that come at you can come from buildings, but that is only within Angulum. Evasion, again, this will help out a little bit there, so you can pick up the evasion, and then it's straight into the Vigan Iron Cannon, and in my opinion, the base hit rate is worth it. Ignore the hit rate against cruisers and destroy cruisers and higher. So base hit rate, double cooldown, double iron damage, because you do actually have... wait, no, it's 1 iron cannon damage here, isn't it? Yeah, 1 iron cannon, and then double siege. The siege gives you 30% for each. You get 6% per level, and you get 5 levels, so you get 30%. There's 60% more siege damage output. The iron cannon damage will give you an extra 2% siege damage, and the cooldowns just increase the cooldown here a little bit. You can drop, and I have tested this a little bit, one of the last damage mods. So you go hit rate, double cooldown, and siege damage, and then you pick up the sustained damage output, or you drop the hit rate for it. It's kind of up to you. I personally would probably drop the damage output for it and keep the hit rate. You do need some hit rate sometimes for hitting buildings. This is mostly for Angulum though. If you're not in Angulum, you can forego the hit rate, and that's when you pick up the sustained damage output instead. Yeah, because apparently in Angulum, buildings move. I don't know. I don't know why you need increased hit rate to hit buildings in Angulum. I mean, meteors and stuff, sure, but, you know, everything else, no. So, in the case of Angulum, it's double cooldown, double siege, and then you pick up the sustained damage, and then you pick up one of the damages. In every other situation, it's hit rate, double cooldown, double siege damage, and finish off with sustained damage output. And yeah, this thing, when it gets going, you get a 60% continuous firing duration. Firing duration, remember, being very, very important on pretty much every ship. If you can get it, you get it. And this is no different. When a target is a city or base, this does also trigger on amps. It does trigger on so anything really, outposts and everything. So do pick it up. It is just really, really, really strong strat. After that, it genuinely doesn't matter. Go for your double cruising speed here is my actual choice on this one, not the warp cruising as per usual, because I use this to just run into an amp, kill it, and run away. The missile systems and stuff, they don't actually have any siege damage here, so it really doesn't matter what you pick. Double frigate, cooldown damage maybe. If you're getting this into combat with an enemy fleet, you've lost these ships, so just don't do it. Again, for the fighters and corvettes, it doesn't matter here either. You probably hit rate, double cooldown, lock on, and a damage for your 5 slots. And that's pretty much it. It's all about the ion cannon on pretty much all 3 variants. It has absolutely immense damage potential when set up and in the right fleet. Ion cannon type, the A type, bring in some Predator Tacticals, bring in some Ceres Tacticals. They will help it with its hit rate, and getting that hit rate down on these things they deal a lot of damage. Again, for the B-type, a little bit hit rate buff from Predator Tacticals or ST-59s with UAVs, anything like that, just pushes them to the next level. Otherwise, it's a pretty solid still against Frigg Destroyer and the Siege type. Extremely situational for just hitting bases. That Vig and Iron Cannon system chucks out immense amounts of damage. And yeah, just it is fantastic for that. So, IO, probably one of my favorite ships because all three variants just have like a very different use. You got A, anti-cruiser and large. B, anti-small Frigg Destroyer. C, anti-building. It's got, you know, an option for everything. It's fantastic. It's my favorite ship design in the game. In terms of like gameplay, I wish more ships were like this, where they've got a variant for each different type of situation you need. It's a cool looking ship as well, which is a nice bonus. It's a giant flying laser gun, quite literally. Who doesn't like giant flying guns? So, you know, there you go. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.